Jordan, you have a gripe, just like you do with Naughty Dog, about Battlefield 1. What's your topic for us this week?
Yeah, so originally, going into this podcast, I was saying that my topic was bad video game names, but I think I just want to, talk about video game names, because yes, I do think Battlefield 1, the number 1, is a terrible name for a video game, especially when it's should be Battlefield 5. It doesn't make any sense and doesn't look good on a poster or a game cover, so I think that's a really terrible idea. I think it's going to sell fine. I don't think that'll hurt it, but it's just unappealing and definitely doesn't catch my eye.
So if you have all the cases, you're going to have Battlefield, Battlefield 2, 3, 4, 1.
Yeah, exactly. And then, besides just bad names, I want to shout out the Ratchet and Clank series for, all their awesome sexual innuendos, like Going Commando and Up Your Arsenal.
Even the South Park games, the Fractured Butthole.
Right, yeah, or Ratchet and Clank Quest for Booty, which is great. A little pirate-inspired DLC there. I don't know, what do you guys think? Give me some terrible and some awesome video game names.
So, real quick, I think the biggest thing is you want to make your game as generic as possible sounding so people understand it, but not super generic. Like, adjectives are your best friend, like synonyms, antonyms, just look for anything you can, right? I think that like, for instance, Battleborn, super generic name. Super
I hate
generic
that stuff.
But going on top of that, Dark Souls, 2 simple words, but they're very specific to what the game is about, and It's a very unique name. Dark Souls, okay, it's very dark and there's something to do with souls. You get into the game, I understand it. But you understand in a conversation, when you say Dark Souls, you're talking about the video game Dark Souls. When you say Battleborn, oh, you mean Battlefront? Oh, you mean this? Oh, you mean that? Like, it's very super generic. I think that it's a fine craft that you have to tune in. The word Uncharted, if before the game Uncharted, Uncharted, that's an interesting word. Why don't we call our game that? Because he goes to uncharted territories and yada, yada, yada. Like, it's finding very specific things, but are generic enough for people to understand that I think are the best names, right? They can even be off the wall, but still, if they're simple. Crash Bandicoot. Crash, he bounces into stuff. Bandicoot, I guess that's an animal? Let me look it up. What the hell, right? Spyro the Dragon. It's a guy named Spyro that's a dragon. Like, I think naming is a very keen art that people don't really think about. I think it can make or break your game in the indie scene. Child of Light, fantastic name. Limbo, fantastic. Valiant Hearts, The Great War, super awesome name, right? It's about a war that you can make super generic and say something about something, but Valiant Hearts, it talks about the type of people that were in that, what they endured, and just a name, like. And they're super weird. Like, JRPGs get really weird names. I think that's one of the genres that they go off the wall.
Man, they just announced this Wii U game. It's like Persona something F# 13 fantasy.
Yeah, that's the...
I don't even know.
That's the Fire Emblem Persona crossover.
Yeah, the name is ridiculous.
Even so, my favorite game franchise, Mass Effect. That just sounds badass.
Love it.
What is a Mass Effect?
I agree.
It sounds sci-fi. It gets
well, I could explain that for you.
Yeah, I can explain that. It's when you reduce your mass to...
But no, I agree with you, Jared. I mean, it's not hard to make. I mean, the names have to be at least good, right? But when there are things, whenever the word battle is in the name of your game, you can fuck right off, I guess, because it's so old. It's like,
so look at Battleborn's competition, Overwatch. Instead of going with something that has to do with the combat, they're like, okay, there's a group of fighters. What are they part of? Let's create the story. Okay, they're part of a group called the Overwatch.
Okay.
Overwatch. Right. That's a cool name. It's a group of people doing something. And it's maybe similar to Battleborn, but Battleborn is such a generic name, man. It's so generic. The worst part is, how does a beta get more traction than the game release? Like, the Overwatch beta had more traction on news sites and stuff than the release of a full game. I think that people hear Battleborn, it's like, oh, that sounds boring,
I do think that, Overwatch may sound cooler than Battleborn, but they're definitely both super generic.
Yeah, I think Overwatch is better than it. But I guess to the normal core audience. Also, logos have a lot to do with this, with a name. You can have a name that looks cool. You can have a cool name, but then the logo, if it's A, hard to read, B, it doesn't make sense with the game. Like, I think those kind of go hand in hand, having a name and having a logo. And if it's very iconic, like Dark Souls, I can tell if something's written in Dark Souls font, just because I remember the cover. Like, I think what else? What other games can I think of? The Legend of Zelda is cool. Whenever you add the Legend of in something, that sounds badass, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, that led to many of people uninformed thinking that the lead character was named Zelda.
Yeah.
But it's still Fire Emblem. That's a cool. It's generic kind of, but it's still cooler than something else.
I still don't get that. I'll have to figure that out. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's a meaning to it.
Pokemon Pocket Monsters. That's cool. And then Digimon's like, okay, we're gonna make them too, but they're digital. Digital monsters. Okay.
I'm gonna shout out Infamous Second Son for having a stupid ass name, even though it's one of my favorite games of all time. It makes no sense within the context of the game. It's not the second game in the series, it's the third, and it's just generally confusing, so I don't know why they did that.
I've not played any of the Infamous games, but I guess I was always under the assumption that
play the Spider-Man game when it comes out. Sorry.
Right. I was always under the assumption that it was called Infamous because your protagonist was not necessarily famous, right? Like you were the kind of an anti-hero. Am I wrong?
Well, it just means infamous, like you're well known and people know about you because you can be, infamously good or infamously bad, I guess.
Well, I think I always thought infamous was just famous but negative.
No,
not necessarily. Just mean well known, really.
Okay.
But then, the only good part about Second Son is that the game's called Second Son, and then the DLC is called First Light, so it kind of plays off each other there.
Before we get off of this topic and move on to the closing of the show, we talked about this before the show, and we were talking about what topics you're going to bring up. Infinite Warfare is terrible because Infinity Ward's making the game, and it's really weird that they're going to have a game called Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. And you brought up the point, Advanced Warfare makes sense. It's Advanced Warfare. Ghost, simple name. Black Ops even makes sense. Infinite Warfare, what could that possibly mean?
Yeah.
I'm stuck in war for the rest of my life.
Only infinite guns.
They should have just called it Call of Duty Groundhog Day. Like, it's a really bad name. It's a really bad name.
I wish it would have been like Galactic Warfare or something like that, like spacey.
That sounds way better.
The thing that Nintendo has above other companies is that because their like pillar franchises are so known, they just use the name everybody knows and then throw random shit at the end of it. Donkey Kong, Tropical Freeze, Super Mario, Sunshine. Like they're just toss something up there and let's see what sticks.
You're allowed that laziness when you have the most reputable, the most well-known names.
Yeah. Zelda though does have some I like the name Twilight Princess. Whether or not the game's good or not, Twilight Princess I think is a cool name. Ocarina of Time is really cool.
Skyward Sword is really cool considering the gameplay and how it's set
up.
Even
Wind Waker I think was a cool name because he's waking the winds. What? So yeah, I think
I'm gonna have to shout out Jack and Daxter because I think their names are really cool, and of course Jack X Combat Racing because it was the last time I was having.
I'm gonna start charging you every time you bring up that game. That's like 4 times. We're gonna have a curse jar, but instead of curse, it's every time you bring up that damn racing game or whatever it is.
You guys should play Jack X. It's really fun, man. I love.
I'm gonna wait for Uncharted Racing.
Uncharted X. Dude, if they did Uncharted Racing, I would be down.
Their car mechanics seem pretty cool. I think we're running a little long here, guys. Do you guys have any closing words on video game names that are weird or are really good?
Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus.
The Thievius? All right. Oh, what was the name? What's the name of Star Fox? They call it something else in Australia or something, right?
Well, it's Star Fox Zero.
But then they call it Star Fox Lycan something, right? Lycan Wars? Or not Lycan, that's from Underworld. Something World. Something Wars. Something with an L. Either way, it's really weird. But Star Fox Zero, it's like we're rebranding it because this game was made before all the other ones. Look at the graphic fidelity. Because it looks like a GameCube game. If you didn't catch that. Alright, this has been episode 11 of the Controlled Interest Gamecast. We talked about Jack and Daxter Combat Racing, I think is what it's called.
Jack X Combat Racing.
Jack X Combat Racing, sorry. Apologies. We talked about Uncharted 4 and how much Dom loves it and how much Jordan hates it.
I
You
don't
can
hate
publish
it.
that on a news article. Yeah, so thank you guys for watching if on YouTube or listening on iTunes or SoundCloud or wherever you find us. Before we get into the full closure, we're going to say what we're going to be playing. I'm going to be finishing up Lords of the Fallen, playing some Magic, the Gathering, the free game on Xbox One. It's probably on PS4 too. I just had some. I just felt like playing a card game. Elder Scrolls Legends is pretty fun. I've been playing that too. So just finishing up Lords of the Fallen. I don't think there's anything else. Doom came out today, but that game seemed like it'd be something I played for 5 minutes and I wouldn't play again.
Yep.
It did nothing for me. Yeah, just Lords of the Fallen and a bunch of other random stuff. So, what about you guys?
Well, I'm not in love with the gameplay, as I've already stated many a time, but I am very excited to see the narrative conclusion to not only Nathan Drake's story, but also that of his pal Sully, his wife Elena, and his brother Sam. So I'm excited to hopefully finish Uncharted this week before our next show. And then I am just about to dig right into The Witcher Hearts of Stone DLC before Blood and Wine comes out later this month with 20 more kinds of vegetables.
Dom, what about you? Finishing up Uncharted 4, I assume?
Yeah, I'll finish Uncharted probably this weekend, and then try to finish up Dark Souls. I'm probably, at the last
Where are you at?
20. I mean, I've just beaten the 3 Lords of Cinder, I believe, those 3 guys that you have to beat in your order of choice or whatever.
3 Lords of Tinder.
Oh yeah, okay, I got you.
So yeah, I think I'm
Not the 3 Lords of Grinder.
I want to see what their character designs would be like.
God.
Oh, I gotta tell you guys a story about that later. Anyway, it is not. Oh shit! All right.
Anyways, you're gonna be finishing Uncharted 4, playing Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, and then I'm looking forward to the next piece of Fallout DLC, Far Harbor. Comes out in the next...
Far Harbor. Grand Club Far Harbor.
That comes out soon, so I'll play some of that.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you guys for listening to episode 11 of the Controlled Interest Gamecast. As always, you can follow us on SoundCloud. You can follow us on Twitter. When we reach 50 followers, we will be giving away Star Wars: The Force Awakens, so definitely follow us in there if you haven't already. We have a new series on our YouTube called Indie Hype, which I started last week, which are 1 to 3 minute videos spotlighting a certain indie game. It came out pretty well, I think, so definitely check that out if you want on our YouTube.
Go watch Indie Hype, people. It's good shit. Talking about Katana Zero this week.
And definitely subscribe to our YouTube. Follow us, leave us a like and a rating on iTunes if you can. It helps the show grow. And thank you guys for joining as always. We will catch you guys in the next one. Any closing thoughts, Jordan, Dom?
Greatness from small beginnings.
R.I.P. Nate. Let's see if he dies.
Alrighty, guys. See you guys next week. Bye.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for checking out the Controlled Interest Gamecast. If you want to stay up to date, remember to subscribe on YouTube and iTunes, and give us a follow on SoundCloud and on Twitter at CTRLINT. # Smash the Dunst!